we do?
McGuire Road was a microsurface, and we experienced premature extensive wear with that material in the first plowing season. It actually ended up being done late in the fall, much later than we would have preferred to see it, so it didn't have a lot of time to cure before we started plowing. Nevertheless, there was nothing to fix. We just eventually wore the material off with our snowplows. It wasn't causing a problem to my understanding.
So it will then come back again at some point in time with some, if this does turn out to be a more successful approach to that kind of maintenance, we could do something like that. If we find that this is successful this time, we would then be looking at revisiting the McGuire Road area with a similar.
Eventually, yeah, we have other roads that we would like to do first if we are happy with the results that have been uploaded.
So we did this process to McGuire Road hoping to extend the life of it, and when it didn't, I guess from Diane's perspective too, we are just going to say, write that off as that, we tried and it didn't work, we don't have something else in place to go back and address it. If we identified it as needing something, moving forward.
It was a matter of trying to extend the life of the pavement 5 to 7 years. McGuire Road is not in need of resurfacing at this point. When we do a microsurface, it should not be in need of resurfacing. It should be early enough in the process that we're extending the life of the pavement and not having to resurface it for maybe another 10 years.
So it was not done to repair.
That same program that McGuire Road was done under, Oak Grove Road was done under, as was Altenburg.
Yeah.
And those came out very well.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
People there disagree with you, but that's fine.
Okay, you're hearing from residents that they still are,
Since it was done. I mean, if they've been unhappy with it since.
What's the complaint?
What's their complaint? That the ride is extremely rough. Initially, when it was done, people were complaining that when they drove down the road, they turned the radio way up just to get rid of the noise from the roadway because it was just so loud.
and that was something that they found was different after we did that process then
Yes.
beforehand. It
Right.
added to the road noise.
Absolutely.
Is that something that, we've even heard anywhere else? When we're looking at extending the life of the pavement here, we're trying all the things that are out there, the new technologies that everybody else has. Is that some feedback that you're hearing from the industry, that this is a problem?
No, we had not been. I have heard that similar complaint on McGuire Road. One person had that complaint that it's noisier and road rougher. We were making an effort to use a high friction aggregate so that it would not be smooth, slippery.
Which would obviously add to, okay? Okay.
Which is then, and also when we do the presentation, if you want to change the program to take it in there, that would be the time to bring this up and say, no, I think we need to do this.
We need to address it.
Right, right.
But it was, this McGuire Road project, as I understand what you've explained to me this morning, was part of our preservation. It was not because we identified it as needing replacement. This is not a replacement technique. This was to try and preserve the length of it. Okay.
Typical, similar to what we're doing here with the thin lift overlay on Charles Road. If you go drive that, you're not going to say, well, this road's falling apart. That wouldn't be an appropriate road to do a thin lift overlay on. You do it on a good pavement that you're trying to extend the life 5, 10, 15 years.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments?
Is there any shared responsibility on the outcomes with the vendors?
No.
That is not the way that it works in the state of Illinois. Some states do have, I can't think of the proper word for the specification, but more of a performance spec where the contractor has a 3-year guarantee or a 2-year guarantee. That's just not the way the state of Illinois works. The contractors aren't used to that. Basically, when they get final payment, we accept their project, they're done, and they're off the hook. That's the system we work under here in Illinois.
When you say there are other states that do have more of a long-term investment on the part of the vendor who is able to get the contract, what states and how, what level was that done? Is that done at a state level when you start, you know, IDOT or Indiana
Yeah,
DOT or
absolutely.
Michigan DOT, whatever?
Ohio, Indiana,
Indiana, Michigan,
Michigan.
Okay.
they have a 1-year warranty.
And that would be done, though, if that's something we would like to see, movement in the state of Illinois, we'd be talking to our state legislators to see if they wouldn't be putting some pressure on moving us in that direction, so that there is some sort of shared investment in it.
As a follow-up though, I would ask for a legal opinion on whether or not we would be able to write agreements that are more restrictive in that nature, or if state law prevents us from doing that. I mean, it may be that there's no IDOT specification for shared responsibility, but does that preclude the county from writing that into our request for quotation? Certainly we don't do that after the fact, but as we develop
moving
these
forward.
agreements, we are the buyer, and if we, within the statute, whatever that statute allows, we should be able to dictate what it is that we're buying, and put that out there for a bid and see what it does to the pricing. But I think that as we start to experiment with some of these newer technologies, that we do this with some partnerships.
Mark?
Mr. Provenzano, we did exactly that on microsurfacing contracts 2 years ago, and we got no bidders. It wasn't a matter of price, we got no bidders. No one was willing to stand behind their work and guarantee it.
Maybe it's time we buy some asphalt.
Generally, anytime you are providing the specifications, it's not the responsibility of the person that's applying your specification to the roadway, and so I can see that point. I wouldn't want to get involved in that.
Interesting point. Ms. Jensen?
Well, if Michigan and Ohio and other Midwestern states are engaging in some kind of a outcome measurement based on the kind of product that is being applied to roads, where there is some kind of, I hate to use the word warranty or guarantee or something like that, for the life of the road, it seems to me that it must be a state kind of mandate for vendors to have a compliance issue when they apply for certain projects. It seems to me that maybe this issue should also get an opinion, like Mr. Provenzano was indicating, but also take this issue if we're so inclined to the legislative committee to see if this would be a viable kind of legislative kind of reform or legislative commitment from the state legislature. I do know of some roads, I think 355 had inferior, when they were doing the resurfacing there, of inferior asphalt, and it seems to me that there was a couple companies that were receiving contracts that had done something to the quality of the asphalt, so it deteriorated, so there was more resurfacing thereafter, and it cost taxpayers a lot of money. And I mean, so maybe legislative committee should review this to see if there is a potential discussion with our representatives.
Mr. Reed?
I think you have to understand the existing process before you move forward with getting legislative committee and that type of thing involved. We have a contract with a testing company, and all materials are tested prior to or when they are delivered to the site. We have inspectors that have been at it for many, many years. I think that where the problem has come to the surface is when we're trying new applications